Right. Yesterday now we had a very interesting revelations from a survey. There's the Business Daily, which had a side story there, why millennials see NGOs as their dream employers. And it says non-governmental organizations, NGOs, are the dream employers for Kenya's millennials. A survey by online jobs portal Brighter Monday has found the millennials, who make up an estimated 45% of the workforce, look out for good pay, job security, and proximity to home when selecting the company to work for, says the report released yesterday. And NGOs have more flexibility to employees in their workplace. Most of NGOs have different also work flexibility hours. This story continues on page 4 of the Business Daily. And it just sets as a segue to our discussion today, as far as the millennials are concerned and the market. Is the government in any way also taking any keen interest, and particularly on this burgeoning 70% of the population, as we are given to understand, projecting where the country will be heading with these people and also the rate of unemployment? So there's a plight of youth that we need to discuss today, and we want just to explore on that particular revelation and survey, and also other baselines surveys and studies that have been done also from East Africa, that is from AFIDEB. And we want to introduce our panelists this morning to talk to us about this and a raft of other issues. So we talk about the plight of the youth in Kenya moving forward from every facet of the country. That will be from the industry, from the government, whichever sector that you can think of. This will be an opportunity for us to actually bring our minds together and discuss this. Allow me to introduce our panelists who are here this morning and will take us through this particular discussion today as we focus on what is happening in the market and the youth. We have with us, this is Emmanuel Modama, who is a CEO of Brighter Monday, who came up with this, or they came up with this particular baseline survey. We have also Diana Sifuna. Diana Sifuna, she is the CEO of Youth Agenda. We do have with us as well this morning, that is the chairperson of the Youth Enterprise Fund, Ronald Osuma. We do have with us Dorcas Wainaina. She is the executive director of the Institute of Human Resource Management. Also, we do have with us Dr. Onyango, who is a knowledge translation scientist from African Institute for Development Policy. Good morning, gentlemen and ladies.
Good morning.
Right. I think now I should remove the flowers.
I think you should.
I can see a bit, Ron is a bit antsy. Yeah, he's getting a bit,
Papa, they're too plastic.
Yes, complain about them being plastic.
Can I come and just remove my flowers?
I feel,
even if
I
they're
feel
plastic.
slighted.
No,
I mean, but we
why
have
do you
to
feel
say thank
slighted?
you.
We should have had something.
Flowers.
You should have had
More flowers for you?
Not flowers, but
Thank
something.
you.
Like ching ching.
You know?
So, Diana, it's not
Yes.
about the plastic. It's about, the gesture.
The
behind
thought.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thought. We did say thank
Okay.
you.
It's Valentine's anyway.
Yeah.
So in the spirit of Valentine's, still, But I expected maybe Emmanuel, Ron,
Would turn up into
Bernard.
the studio.
They should have done something. Yeah, at least.
With something.
We didn't know who was working in the family.
You just needed to walk around with love in your
Yeah.
hands.
What happened to chivalry? Yeah. What happened
You
to?
know.
Yeah? Anyway, let's just get down to business and discuss this. First of all, we can actually begin with you, Emmanuel, to tell us more about this particular revelation. Bernard will tell us the broader region of East Africa with demographic dividends, the study that they did and what they came up with. What's really prompted you, first of all, to come up with this particular study?
So thanks so much, Debarl, for inviting us. Indeed, it was a very interesting report to produce in the market.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why we did this is because as Brighter Monday, we run a marketplace.
Yes.
A marketplace means this is a job site that links to important side of the audience, that is employers and job seekers. And both of them have each very specific needs on what they're trying to achieve. So within the marketplace,
Yes.
We use our analytics to see who really engages with our platform, what are they looking for, and their satisfaction levels. And we could see some imbalance between demand and supply, and hence we had to dig deeper because on one side of the spectrum, we had employers who come and use our services at Brighter Monday looking for the right people to work for them. They go through an amazing process. They identify talent, they interview them, and then when they report to the workplace, there's some disconnect where they say this individual is not as productive as they expected. They are not meeting the requirements that are set, and they're not productive. So we had to look deeper because we believe some of these candidates are really strong values and that they are providing for the organizations that they have joined. And it led us to try to understand more. Is it the problem with the candidates who are joining organizations, or are organizations rigid and they're not ready to change their ways? And that's what really came out when we produced this report. Just to produce that understanding between employers in the market, what they're expecting, and also candidates who majority, looking at our analytics, 70% are millennials who are looking to join workplaces. So yeah, that's why we produced a report to understand this with the aim of looping in industry players, and I'm grateful to see the panelists here. There's a policy issue that has to be addressed, there's a training issue, there's an understanding based on knowledge, and there's the expectation that employers expect. So we are looking forward to go into the market now and try to address these gaps within the job marketplace.
All right. Well, maybe we could also just throw it to Dr. Onyango from AFIDEB to just tell us also the baseline survey that you've taken also regionally as far as demographic dividends is concerned, and the burgeoning of the youth bulge that we do have. Give us what you found out from your report.
Yeah, so I think it's very clear that the youth are a very important segment of the population, be it in Kenya, but the rest of Africa really. And we're estimating, if you look at Kenya, those under the age of 35 constitute about 76% of the population. And so it's not the millennials who are 76% of the population, but those under 35. So if you're thinking about age 15 to 35, it's more like just over 30%, but that's still a significantly
so that has been a misreporting of the media that this is a 70%. What I alluded
to.
Because
those who are under 15 are about 43% of the population, which I think underscores another important point, that even as we are talking about investing in youth, we should be thinking it's not just those 15 and above. We need to start young, those investments, because if we are focusing on 15 and above, it means there's this whole earlier period, including their education, nutrition at the very youngest ages, where you needed to invest so that they're healthy, they have the right education, the right skills as they move into to these young ages. Having said that, if you look at the job market or the employment rate, in Kenya, in Africa in general, youths have a disproportionately higher number who are unemployed or underemployed. So there are really two things. There's unemployment and there's underemployment. I think last year when the government released the Kenya Integrated Budget Household Survey, the country was up in arms when they saw like very low rates of unemployment, under 10% or thereabouts. But even that at that national level for the youth, it's more like 20%. But if you look at other studies, for example, there's the Next Generation Kenya study that was supported by David and the British Council. It looks like one of the challenges for the youth there, in their own words, 67% said they have challenges around employment opportunities. If you look at your survey, the Brighter Monday Sunday, they're looking at about what, 55%? Yeah, 55%. Yeah, unemployment. So there's really one of the issues that was coming out of a report that is that there needs to be something done in terms of school to work transition.
School to work transition.
School to work transition is a big issue, and there needs to be a careful thinking into how do we run, for example, internship programs. How do we run? There are now internship programs, you know, in a lot of employers have interns. One of the challenges there have always been the young people think they are being exploited, you know, cheap labor in some cases, they are not being paid.
Yes.
So there needs to be, because you expect someone to come to work, is living, and that speaks to the other thing about young people wanting to live closer to where they work. But you're talking about someone in Rongai coming to Westlands, and you haven't given them any, you know, money to facilitate how they're going to travel and what they're going to eat. So they're not going to be as productive as you expect. So that's really a huge challenge. But then there's also the issue of policy.
Just hold on to policy before we actually go to policy. Let's hear from Dorcas on this as well. That disconnect that we hear from school to work transition as well. I don't know what as an institute you've managed actually to come up with to just give us a broader understanding of how critical this is. Because right now we are actually even coming up with the KCSE results and the KCP, you know, they're trying to push the 100% transition. But people are saying this is not realistic in the first place. It can never be 100% transition. But school to work transition also cannot be 100% as well.
Thank you, Debarl. Indeed, it's true. And this has been a discussion for a while now. It's really whether these younger ones are employable insofar as employers are concerned and the skills they are looking for. But then the question is, how then do we expect them to leave school and be employable? There's a transition period. There is need for exposure. There's need for them to have opportunities to practice what really the workplace is looking for. And therefore, as an institute, how we come in is because even when we speak about employer, we do know that there's employer and there's the person that participates in that role that ensures somebody comes into the place of employee, and that's the HR professional.
Yes.
And that is the person that I would like to say that the question to them is, how do you participate in this transition process from school, college, that is, to employment? What system have you put in place to ensure that these fresh graduates come into the place of work, get the opportunity to become employable? Now, then the issue of internship.
Yes.
Are there complaints about it? Absolutely. Have I seen that? Yes. Have I experienced that? Absolutely. We take on interns in places of work, HR professionals, and they're listening to me, I'm sure. And what they are given to do is to file the entire 3 months or 6 months. They are simply filing, or they are sent to KFC to pick some lunch. I'm not saying entirely all of them, but they are asked to run errands that have nothing to feed into that which they studied in college to enable them gain skills, report writing, you know, communication skills, how to use a machine at the place of work. There's a photocopier, but they're very complex. How do you help them to navigate that? So what we are saying is this: how can we make the transition, all of us, universities must link up with industry, understand what really industry is looking for, and come up with curricula that feeds into industry. One, employers, HR professionals who are the gatekeepers at that point, ensure that they are structured a framework of internship that's beneficial to the younger ones. 3, how do we ensure that within that framework, yes, it's a stipend. We don't call it a wage, it's a stipend. You're facilitating, surely, you're an employer. You know, they will need to buy some water, you know, they need to come to work. We understand that, you know, we are giving them opportunity to gain experience, but they're human beings and they need to be facilitated. If we have that framework, how do we do so? But there's good news at government level, at least there's a plan underway to harmonize internship in this country and help the younger ones transition to the place of work. But this has been necessitated by the fact that it is not organized, it's not well structured, it's not beneficial. But what we all have tried to do is sit back and really complain a lot more. Even those that are creative to access funds, and Ron will speak about that, it's even more complex. I thought it was easy, but it's even more complex. How then do we make this easier for the younger ones to truly exercise their creativity, but again get access to these opportunities? For the HR professionals, because that more is my docket, policies in the workplace must really be transformed to meet the day of today. And by policies, I mean both content and aesthetics of that policy manual. It used to be very boring when I was working, and I used to wonder myself, can anybody really sit to read this? Make it more. I still is.
Yes,
I
yes.
still. Can we make it even more interactive so then somebody can enjoy even looking at it? We are with a tech-savvy generation, but we're expecting them to sit and read that booklet. They don't read it. That's why they resign today and they leave tomorrow, because they're telling, oh, was I supposed to give notes? I thought I just left and I just left. But there's a whole lot we need to do to transition them to the
Thank you.
workplace, and that's,
All right, thank
that's
you.
important for us.
Talking of policy, let's rope in also Ron now and to tell us more about the policy, because the government had promised to roll out at least 10,000 jobs in the next 12 to 18 months. And this was actually within the ambit of the National Employment Authority. When it comes, we had so many promises from government. There's that. There was also what was from the Public Service Commission as well, internship programs, but nothing. That was to cooperate also with the private sector. But nothing has come out of this, pronouncement as well. So is the government just, speaking from, both sides of the mouth when it comes to internship and integrating these people who are coming from tertiary and universities?
Yeah, thank you, Debarl, for having us. And this, I think, is a very important discussion. I think we need to broaden the conversation, because it's really not just about employment. I think it's about the productive use of the human capital that the country has.
Yes.
And if we have a wider conversation around how then do we make, and I think this is precisely what this report really is about. It's about the young people telling us how they want to be productive, how they want to contribute to national development. But more specifically to your question, I think, the wheels of government move slowly.
Yes.
Generally, because you have policy conversations, you have bureaucratic conversations,
yes.
you have operational issues, you have fiscal conversations you have to have about how you're supporting the program and whether it is affordable. And so I think government's intention is to widen the net so that we bring in as many young people as is possible. The president's commitment, and what I know National Employment Authority is working on, is that every graduate, university graduate, and I think in any 1 year we have about 100,000 graduates coming out into the job market, that the 100,000 will get at least 1 year of internship. What that does then, and the HR professionals will tell you, is one, it exposes the young people to the job market. Two, it realigns or balances their expectations of the job market. Because many young people come out into the job market and they expect that, as soon as I come out into the job market with my degree in biotechnology, I will get a first job with a first salary of 150,000 shillings. So I think it is an opportunity, and in many Western countries, is what they call the gap year. It is an opportunity for the young people to come to the realities of the marketplace. Number one. Number two, it is an opportunity for the country to test the human capital coming out of these academic institutions, to say, do we have the right people? Are they properly skilled? Are they properly placed? So you might have somebody who studied journalism who comes and does an internship at Nation Media Group, and within 6 months they figure, okay, this was not my thing. I'm in the wrong place. So I think the bigger question is, how do we expand the space enough to make young people more productive? Dorcas alluded to the fact of creativity, and this report speaks to that. Young people, and millennials there's this myth that millennials are lazy, they're entitled, they are not productive. But we must appreciate that these are digital natives. These are guys who were literally born with mobile phones in their hands. Okay, people born between 1982 and 2000, and their natural disposition is global. So they don't see themselves as Kenyans first, they see themselves as global citizens. So their perspective is also very global. Their culture, their work culture is also very global. And so when we study all these things that Emmanuel has thrown at us, and everybody else who's done a survey around millennials, their work culture, their association with values and their expectation of the marketplace, we will begin to appreciate one thing, that we need to redefine what jobs are.
We need to.
eventually this conversation will lead to the fact that
We need
these
to
guys
redefine.
actually don't want employment. All these things you're seeing here, in
Fantastic.
fact,
Right.
bottom line, they don't want employment.
Fantastic. Just slow your roll a bit, and we hear from also Diana on this, because yes, you and the youth agenda, you can tell us more about what we are speaking about this morning, especially the issue of entitlement.
Yeah.
With the millennials. That yes, there's a sense of entitlement. This is not. We cannot just confine them with specific job descriptions that are out there. The people who are very innovative, very agile, nimble, and they always say the nimble will jump, and those that are rigid will stumble. Right? Let's hear from you.
You know, one of the things that I'm hearing consistently here, and thank you so much for inviting me, sorry, to start with, is that there is need for policy to be very inclusive of the young people, policy in all the sectors. I think for me, as a young person and being in that bracket of millennial, and having jumped from different sectors, this is in media, private sector, and now in the NGO sector, I will acknowledge that some of those jumps were not really financially motivated, but they were more of excitement, enthusiasm, passion, interactivity. I didn't want to be locked in a desk where, you're working from 8 to 5 and these are the things that you do, and it's very rigid. And that's what the majority of the youths that we deal with in youth agenda interventions deal in. I like the fact that Ronnie pointed out that we shouldn't just be focusing on the educated youth, or rather talking about employment. When at Youth Agenda, we look at all the youths in Kenya. We have youths that are not in employment, they're not educated, and they're currently not in training. That population is very large. When we only focus on the employed youth, or the youths that have been educated and the ones that need training, you may be focusing on a very small population of that large youth population that you're addressing. So it is, again, a call to society. What are we doing? All the economic actors in the public sector, in the private sector, even us in civil society, to include the youth in these agricultural sectors, finance, political, economy, health, and social. Now, just yesterday, I was with fellow youth actors, and we were coming up with this initiative called Youths for Building Bridges Initiative, just to join in what the president and the former prime minister were doing when they want to stabilize the political economy, so that the other financial economy that helps, the GDP of the country to grow can actually operate functionally. Every political year we have things that, the youths are being used badly to bring about chaos in the country, and these are usually the youths that are not educated. The educated youths are on their Netflix, they're on Twitter, hashtag KOT, tweeting photos and retweeting photos. What are the youths, the real youths, the bigger population of the youths who are not in employment, not in training, and not educated, are the ones out there in the streets. So when we really want to talk about interventions to the young people, let's also look at the demographics within the youth population. What are the percentage of the youths that are actually educated? What is the population of the youths that have never been educated beyond high school? And then how are we as a society, as different economic actors, actually including this youth in our planning, in our employments, in our policies and implementation?
Right. I think it would be a good point also to take a short break, right? And when we circle back, we continue with this particular discussion. Remember, you can head over to a Twitter handle, which is MLiveNTV. MLiveNTV is a profile name on Facebook, and 20686, our SMS portal. We'd love to hear from you. We know what is the plight of our youth out there, the millennials. Join the discussion so that we can get to work. Do we need to reconfigure altogether the job landscape as it is right now? Are we operating on an old template that is not, of course, in tandem with the changes that we have so far as the job market is concerned as well? So let's see you on the other side of the break. Don't go away.